another episode of Fire, Flower, and Fur. I'm actually really excited about this episode. As we moved into our new home, were gifted with a very special gift from my husband's father. We got a copy of his mom's old cookbook that was published in, I think, 1953. It's really special because you've got a whole bunch of pages that are splattered with yuck. Gravy and vanilla.
Flour, butter.
You know exactly which pages in the cookbook were used a lot. The interesting thing is that my mother, one year for Christmas, gave me a copy of her cookbook because I was going to be getting married and I needed a copy of hers, which was published in 53. Sorry, 50? So, Bert and I decided that we would do a Who Done It Better.
Yeah.
We've got Betty Crocker, and we have Better Homes and Gardens.
Mm-hmm.
So we found a recipe. We're doing pineapple upside down cake. My mom mentioned that maybe we should try that one. And we are going to do a challenge to see who did it better. So the first question, who gets the KitchenAid? Who gets the hand mixer?
Yeah, because we've only got the one KitchenAid and I'm too cheap to spring for two of them. So we're going to use this and this. There's a couple of other things we're going to do too, where we're going to kind of throw a wrench in the works. Is each one of these recipes calls for vanilla. My wife is using Mexican vanilla. I am using bourbon vanilla, and I tripled the amount of vanilla. Well, it's actually one teaspoon versus 1 tablespoon. Good stuff.
One teaspoon versus 1 tablespoon of Mexican vanilla.
Now, for the most part, the recipes are quite the same as far as the amount of the ingredients. The method's a little bit different. And like she says, the book I'm using, we've got them up here. We've got her original book from her mother. We've got my original book from my mother. This is her original book. The spine is missing. There's several pages missing. So what we actually did, we actually sprung and bought 2 new books that we could use for this particular thing, because there's lots of recipes in here we can do that are quite the same. I just don't dare pull my mother's down, because the minute you touch it, it's going to fly. It falls apart. And hers was so special to her because it was given to her mother. We just don't want it. We're going to be kind of fast and furious on this. So anyway, that's where we're at. But the ingredients are pretty much the same. Hers takes 2 eggs, mine takes 1. The amount of other stuff is kind of the same. The method in the pans are a little bit different. What the hell happened to my pan? So she'll be using a glass baking dish. I will be using a 9-inch
I almost didn't use a glass baking dish.
Okay.
We are not sabotaging each other. We already decided we were going to do that.
No, we aren't. Not at all. Anyway, so the thing that we get deciding is who gets to use what as far as the mixing. So that'll be kind of a handicap. So we come up with an idea. Probably, this goes back for the ages, one of those things where I'm sure that many, many things were decided this way. We're going to do rock, paper, scissors, and we're going to do best 2 out of 3. You ready? Do you remember how to do this? Okay, you ready? Here we go.
Okay.
Ready? All right, here we go. Ready? And 1, 2, 3. Ha.
Damn it.
1, 2, 3. Oh, that's a push. 1, 2, 3. That's a push. 1, 2, 3. All right. Here we go. Last one. Ready? 1, 2, 3. She gets it.
Okay.
So we got to switch sides.
No. We're just switching this.
No,
I'm not moving all my ingredients. Here, take this. You got it?
Yeah, I got it. And you left it plugged in, and you handed that to me. You handed that to me.
We're not sabotaging each other.
Whatever. All right, so the first thing that my recipe says, and it's funny because the Betty Crocker recipes use key recipes where they've got this recipe that's it's a standard base recipe for most things. So on hers, you have all this stuff that just talks about, well, you add all these ingredients, but you add these different things down the road. This one is all step by step. The first thing that mine says is I've got to take 3 tablespoons of butter and melt it in a pan.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
What?
Well, we got to prep our butter.
Oh, crap. Where's my knife? What did I do with my knife? I'm going to make a hell of a mess of this because we kind of
Now,
want to
mind you, it's an old recipe. It tells you to melt in a pan. I'm not melting it in a pan. I'm microwaving.
And I'm going to go do it this way because I want mine to actually turn out.
Mine is going to turn out.
Sound on this probably might not work out very well because we're using one microphone for both of us. All right, so I have to swap glasses so I can see what the hell I'm doing. All right, so first thing I want to do is melt my butter in a 9 by 1 inch round pan. I need to drain my pineapple, which I did, and reserve half a cup of the syrup.
I am melting a half a cup of butter, and then I am going to sprinkle a half a cup of brown sugar evenly over the butter, and then I am arranging my fruit in an attractive pattern on the butter sugar coating.
What are you considering an attractive pattern?
Hey, I'm an artist. I can do what I want.
You can do what you want, that's right. Watch out, kids. And our fur, of course, is helping us. You don't know if you can see this on camera, but Festus is walking around right underfoot. And of course, Phoebe does what she does best when we do anything in the kitchen. She is laying on the floor right in front or right behind somebody or in front of somebody.
Oh, why not use the microwave?
I need one of those, would you?
Here. How many paper towels, would you?
Yes, I will.
I had a little accident.
Nice going, Ace.
I know. It's awful.
I spent hours cleaning that microwave out.
Oh, you'll be fine.
All right, so we've melted butter. All right, so we've melted the butter in the pan. Whew,
Does that smell good, buddy?
Okay, butter's melted in the pan. Okay, so now it says I need to
Sprinkle my brown
arrange
sugar.
the cherries and nuts in the bottom of the pan.
Let's see,
So
I'm
we've
supposed to
got
sprinkle my brown sugar.
maraschino cherries here. I'm just going to, oops, I got some stuff in there. And they're pulling a defensive move in here because they don't want to move very bad. So I really should have cut those in half. I'm looking at that now. This is not going to turn out like I expected. These really should have been cut in half. But put a few cherries in there, try to get them somewhat decent.
Okay, I have my butter and I've sprinkled my sugar. Now for the attractive part. Let's see how that goes.
I'm not much for attraction, as you can tell. I'm a bald guy with not much attraction left in me.
Hey, I find you attractive, babe.
All right. So we've got cherries in the bottom. Sticky hands. Okay, so arrange cherries and nuts in the bottom pan. Now mine calls for walnut pan. Hers actually calls for pecans. It's another difference in the two recipes. This is a resealable bag with my hands all sticky and I can't get a hold of.
Okay, so I find that attractive. I'm going to call that attractive.
You did.
Did you use up all the cherries?
Pretty much all of them.
Well, fine. I'll open my own.
Okay, so this says to put the cherries and nuts in the bottom of the pan. I'm going to be kind of careful because, like I say, I should have cut those. I don't know if I got time to cut those cherries in half because they just don't look good in there.
Sneaking some.
And like she says, like my wife has said, you eat with your eyes first, and I'm eating with my eyes. I'm starving right now because this does not look good. Not look good at all.
Well,
Okay.
let's be honest. Betty Crocker says to use rings, and that's going to make it easier to make it look pretty.
Yeah, and mine uses tidbits, which in our case is just going to be the little wedges. Okay, so it looks all right. That actually looks okay. The cherries are a little mixed up. I could have done a better job moving them around, but
My phone just went off. We decide to do stuff on the spur of the moment sometimes, and I'm calling around to friends to see if I can find somebody to come and be the taste testers. So
okay, so mine called for 2/3 cup brown sugar, and it says after you get the butter and the cherries and the walnuts in the pan, you need to cover it with the brown sugar. Now, keep in mind, as old as these books were at the time, I don't know that they really had the differential things like they do now between light and brown sugar and things like that. We are actually both using dark brown sugar because
we like it.
we like it. We like the difference in the earthiness. And I remember being a kid and my mom and my grandma would make stuff. There was just brown sugar. You didn't have dark brown sugar, light brown sugar. You didn't have reduce this, reduce that. So that's actually good.
And we actually do, for the most part, I use dark brown sugar on just about everything, but we do have light brown sugar, and we make choices. So there are times that I do choose to use the light brown sugar, but for the most part, I am a dark brown sugar kind of person.
Oh, that looks pretty bad. Okay, so I am using the pineapple chunks. These are not the tidbits, and I can tell right now that this is going to be really full, this pan. I should have cut those cherries in half. But, being what it is, I'll got the pineapple chunks going now. So that's the butter, and then I put the cherries in, and then the walnuts, and now I'm putting the pineapple chunks down. And this is kind of like making a pizza. I worked at a pizza joint for many years. Well, not many years, but as a youth, it seemed like many years.
Here's an interesting bit of information.
Uh-oh.
I tend to be, I'm allergic to a lot of nuts. Now, I am not as bad as a lot of people who are allergic. Like, I have nuts in my home. I can touch nuts, but there are a lot of nuts that I can't eat. So, the very first recipe that we chose to do that was Whodunit Butter has nuts in it.
Yep. Okay, so there's that. Yeah, that's going to really fill that pan in when you tell about the amount of stuff I've got to go in here.
All right.
Okay, so what I need to do now is,
Okay, I don't know if you can see that. That's so pretty. Woo.
I need to cream together shortening and granulated sugar. So what I've got is I've got 2/3 or half a cup of shortening. You took my spatula, didn't you? Damn it.
I did not. It's over there. I don't want your
Okay.
stupid spatula.
Okay,
I am beating together 2 eggs.
So if you saw my wife's other thing she did with the Italian pound cake where she talked about shortening, this is why it's just kind of greasy and slimy, kind of gross.
I hate.
So shortening and granulated sugar, which is half a cup of granulated sugar.
I am supposed to be beating together 2 eggs.
Just like the next master, I have a kit to do.
Oh my God, put your phone down. We're in the middle of something.
I'm looking to see if somebody can help me.
What?
Go to break.
Like I said before, even if you don't have it to, you really should scrape the bowl.
Always scrape the bowl.
Always scrape the bowl. You want that stuff off the side, get it into it. Ideally, you see how that's actually creaming together pretty good. I'm actually quite pleased with that.
Well, okay, and that's the thing about shortening. Like, I can mutter about shortening, but the people that were doing the recipes in 53 kind of knew what they were doing. Let's just be honest, they did.
Alright, I'm going to call that good.
Now this is interesting because his is shortening and sugar, right?
Mm-hmm.
And mine is eggs and sugar. So his is white and creamy and mine is yellow and creamy, but they both. So the next thing I'm supposed to be doing is adding my fruit and my vanilla. How about you?
I need to add 1 egg. Add egg and vanilla, beat until fluffy.
Vanilla, my fave.
Vanilla. And once again, she's using Mexican vanilla. I'm using bourbon vanilla. So we'll see how this works out. Okay, the one thing I should have done before I started doing that is I should have scraped the bowl. So I'm going to do that real quick.
Always scrape the bowl. Hey, I'm telling you, there have been so many times when I've got a cake out of the oven and going, well, what's this weird flat spot?
Yep.
Yeah.
That happens in cookies too. Some of those too.
It's mostly when I get down to the very bottom.
Yeah.
Like when you haven't scraped the bowl and the first several are really good and then all of a sudden they're not as good anymore. Yeah.
Okay, I'm supposed to beat this till fluffy. It's getting there, but it's going to take a second.
Alright, I am adding my salt, my baking powder, and my flour.
Scrape that real quick one more time.
Okay, intriguing that both of the batters look very much the same now.
Yeah, mine's a little more dense than hers. Hers is a little more liquid, but they're
But the
actually
color,
quite similar.
like,
It's actually
Mine
It's
had 2
interesting.
eggs and you only had 1, but
Yeah.
the before when you were
I
whipping
use a
yours.
shortening.
Right, but what I mean is, before yours was definitely more white, and now they very
Very
much.
tasty.
But you're right, yours is much more dense.
Okay. So,
And you have an attitude.
all right. So there's that. Now,
Mine's done.
I'm sure it is.
No, it is.
No. So now I'm supposed to, let's see, sift together dry ingredients, which I already have. So this is, oops, gob on there. I've got flour, baking powder, and a half teaspoon of salt. So I need to sift together dry ingredients, add alternately with reserve syrup, beating after each addition. So I need to add a little bit of this,
So I'm reading my recipe. I love
a little bit of this, and this is the reserve pineapple.
the innocence of these books too. Bake until wooden pick thrust into the center of the cake comes out clean.
I also get a kick out of both these cakes are supposed to cook at 350 for 40 to 45 minutes, but both of them say moderate oven. So I can tell you right now, mine's going to be a lot thicker than hers if I'm doing this right.
If I did it right.
So I will add a little bit more of this,
And a little bit more of
squish more
that.
of that, because we're supposed to add them alternately. Ooh, that's some good looking rabbit. Look at that. Nice and thick and creamy. Looking good, Billy Ray.
Look at mine, baby.
The answer is supposed to be feeling good, Lewis, but
I know,
you
but
didn't know that.
I look at. Well, yeah, because I don't watch those.
You watch that show. Just because your mother wouldn't let you watch it. Okay, so I'm going to scrape that real quick. Just to get
Yeah,
all
yours
cut
is
out of the way.
definitely thicker than mine.
Yep.
It's gonna be interesting.
That's what she said. Ooh, it's pretty though, isn't it?
It's a nice looking. It's definitely now. It is whiter.
It is. What if I miss something?
No, I'm sure not.
Okay. Ooh, it's pretty. All right. So,
Alright. Now, mine says bake.
oh God.
I
Teddy.
read that. Bake until a wooden stick is thrust into the cake.
Mine has nothing to do with thrusting. So.
Mine says bake for 45 minutes.
Mine says 40 to 45 minutes, but both of them say 30 or 350 oven.
Yep.
Well, like I say, it says 350 oven, and
Oh,
in
yeah,
parentheses
yours
they both say moderate oven.
Definitely thicker than mine. Mine is almost very liquidy. Maybe I screwed up.
Maybe. We're going to find out, aren't we? Ooh, that looks pretty though, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. That's a pretty value.
Yours is going to turn out a lot better looking on top, though. I can tell that just by when your stuff went in. All right, so we are going to finish pushing this into the pan. Oof, maybe that is a little too thick one. My pineapples aren't staying where they need to. Mine's going to be ugly. I can tell you that. Mine's going to be ugly.
Taste.
Tenderness and
Yeah,
appearance.
Appearance, taste, and what's our third one going to be? Bert's used to doing barbecue, so
Well,
it's,
for me, it's taste, tenderness,
taste,
and appearance, but
tenderness,
this
and
isn't a
appearance.
brisket, so
but texture, taste, texture, and that'll work. Taste,
taste,
texture,
moisture, and appearance.
moisture.
Because, yeah, see those, I should have cut those cherries down. I should have cut those pineapples down a little bit too, because The difference being is the rings on hers are going to sit right on top, and mine, the pineapples are basically going to bake all the way through. So we'll see.
Well, but
what
the
happens.
interesting thing is because you put the pineapple on the bottom and then dump it out.
I understand.
Because you always, I'm just telling the audience something.
You're always telling me something.
When you're trying to do a fruit cake and you want the fruit to be like in all of the cake, that might be a problem. But because that's being dumped out, it's still going to sit on top and be pretty, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
here we go.
All right, we're going in the oven.
Wait. Here we go.
So we got
Oh, I don't want to tip mine. Bert can tip his. I can't tip mine.
Yeah, so that's the difference there. Here's up here a little bit. That's the way they look.
Okay, here we go.
All right, in they go. We'll see you in about 45 minutes or so.
So our cakes have cooked. Mine took, what, 5 minutes? 8 minutes?
8
longer?
minutes, 10 minutes longer. Well, hold on.
Which I'm not surprised by. Mine was a lot wetter. Anyway, the dogs are still here walking around, but they're going to end up having to go out to the garage or outside when we've got guests coming over to do our taste test for us. So I don't think our neighbors realized that when we moved here, they were going to get to do stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so the cakes came out and they sat for maybe 5 minutes cooling.
So just to recap, this one that I made cooked for basically 40 minutes. The stick test came out good. Hers cooked for basically 50 minutes.
And the stick test, it was still a little sticky, but the top had baked enough that I was a little nervous, so I went ahead and pulled it.
Yeah, and if you
Might
look
have
at
been a
it,
good choice,
as
might
she
have
got a
been
little
bad
bit
choice.
more, it might have caramelized a little more than
I
it should
don't
have,
know.
but boy, it
We'll
sure looks
see.
pretty. Wow, it looks pretty.
And all I know is that the house smells amazing, and he said that it's weird that all of a sudden the house smells like his grandma's, so
Yeah, got
that's
that
kind of cool.
Whiff of every once in a while to go to my grandma's house, and a lot of it I'm sure is just the the vanilla and the the stuff that went in it, but because you always kind of remember things like
Yeah.
that, and I've got a
He
lot of
has
my
a really
memories are
amazing
with
memory
smells anyway,
based
so
on smell.
because
So
I can't see it here worth a
we
damn.
are
So
going to dump these out together. So you take a pan, plate,
Ooh, I don't know if that's gonna fit, babe.
put it upside down.
I don't
flip
know if
it.
that's gonna fit. And that one didn't drop.
And mine is feeling a little. Yours didn't drop?
I don't think so. Nope, it didn't. It did.
Try it.
Yep, it did.
We good?
Yep. Let's see what happens. Oh, ho, 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 ho.
So what am I?
A lot of my stuff stuck to the pan.
What am I did?
Yeah, I should have. Crap. I guess
I'm-
I should have been a little bit more diligent with the butter.
It's intriguing to me that neither of them asked us to grease or flour.
No, I didn't grease or flour the pan. However, it does smell really good.
Okay. Julia Child always said that people didn't know what happened in the kitchen. So look, mine
Yeah.
came out perfect.
Of course, this is all on video now.
Yeah.
So we know who did that part of it better.
And I am going to.
I'm a little despondent,
Get
actually.
a paper towel.
I mean, it would have looked really good had everything stuck to it, but
Well, can you pull any of yours off?
oh, look at that, babe. It's in pieces.
How does it taste? Can you
tastes
pull that
really good.
off and put it? Didn't put anything on that.
Huh? Oh. Happy?
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you right now that I lost the appearance category. Things I would do definitely different. I would cut the cherries in half. I would have actually gotten the pineapples. I would have gotten the tidbits rather than the chunks. And I probably would have used light brown sugar because I'll bet that dark brown sugar was part of it because it had more of the, the molasses and stuff in it.
Well,
However-
mine looks pretty, but I'm nervous that it's not going to have been cooked through. So.
Yeah. The taste is amazing, though.
Well, I'm not tasting mine because it's all.
Well, I can taste mine because a big chunk of it's left in the pan.
So our neighbors are supposed to be over here in a few minutes. Let me taste it.
No.
Let me try.
No.
Let me taste it. Oh, but it's.
Yeah. It's
And-
cooked a little too long.
As I said, I don't do nuts, so.
That's actually a really good flavor. However, very wholesome flavor. I mean, it's what anybody our age, that would ever had the grandmas and the mothers and stuff that cooked a lot of stuff like this. This is what you remember. None of the...
I'm taking a picture.
Go ahead. None of the real weird fluff or anything that went along with it. Boy, that is pretty, Marta. Damn, that's pretty.
Now, I should have... see, none of the nuts are showing because they're on the back side.
Yeah, they're on the back side. But what's interesting to see about this is the way the cake actually filled in around the pineapple rings. So you've actually got the pattern of the pineapples in there, and that looks
So
really cool.
What I should have done right here where the cherries were, put the nuts down first and then put the cherries down after.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay, so I did find something that I would do different.
Yeah. The cook looks good. I mean, as far as the way it feels, the way the sponge feels on it, the bottom, of course, because it's an upside down cake, is you know, a little crispy. But everything here looks like it's done. Yeah.
So,
And, you know, you also got to kind of remember that, you know, when these recipes came out, you didn't have the stuff that you had now. I mean, you went to the grocery store, you got what you got.
yeah,
I mean,
you didn't have like...
You bought brown sugar. You
Right.
didn't get all this weird stuff. You got pineapple rings. You got pineapple tidbits. You didn't have all these different brands. It was
Yeah, I
what the
made
store
sure I
had.
bought the same brand of pineapple just simply because I didn't want that to be an issue. But you go to the grocery store now and you have many different varieties
man.
of fruit. When my mom used to make this, she used to make apricot upside down cake because we had an apricot tree at the house. And so she would use her homemade apricots.
Yeah, apricots.
I picked all the apricots off and just ate the... Now, mind you, the flavor of the apricot was good, but I just didn't want to eat the fruit. But that was where we came from.
You know what I'd outside do? I'd use crushed walnuts.
Yeah.
Because those are really big.
And that's a funny thing, because the recipe specifically called for whole.
They're called for walnut
So-
halves.
Well,
So,
yeah, walnut
you know, not
whole,
crushed
but
ones.
Anyway, so I purchased pretty expensive nuts for this, and we didn't use that many of them. So I would have gone with the crushed as well, but I mean,
Yeah.
visually it is pretty, but
No, it's not. It looks like crap. That is beautiful. But back to only one aspect.
Yep.
Taste, appearance, and moisture.
do we want to say moisture,
I don't
taste,
know.
appearance, and
Eatability.
Texture.
That's a good one. Texture's a good one.
taste, appearance, and texture? I'm going to do scorecards.
Which is actually kind of funny because that's the same scoring thing they use in barbecue. Taste, texture, and appearance. So we've come full circle. Anyway, so that's where we're at. My wife's going to get scorecards. Our neighbors are going to be showing up here in just a couple of minutes. So we got to get the dogs hustled out of here. And I know that these two walking in are going to look at this immediately and know who did it. We're kind of trying to do this kind of as a blind taste test thing, but that's not going to happen because I can guarantee you they're going to walk in and see that versus that, and they're going to know who did it. However, I know they're good sports. So anyway, she'll get those up, wait for our neighbors to get here, and when they get here, we'll see what they have to say. So catch you in a few minutes.
When we moved to town, these people didn't realize that they were going to be asked to do odd things. But here they are. These are our neighbors.
And they don't know which one is which.
No.
But I bet if you look really close, you can probably figure it out.
Oh.
See, that one's going to crumble. I told you. Now, I think if you look in the front of that, cookbook that I didn't really look at, it actually talks about what to do when you make cakes and pies, and it's very specific about greasing the pans. So, unlike most of these recipes
The
nowadays.
recipe didn't call for grease. Oh, I should
Oh, nice.
mention a fact that I teach school. Two of these people teach school with me, and one of them is the home ec teacher.
We won't
Oh, I
say.
didn't
Come
think
on
about that.
over and
The
taste
home
our...
ec.
I forgot.
All right,
I don't
so
think chicken Alfredo after this is going to be any good.
I don't know either.
Because look at that. Oh my heaven.
okay.
I'm really having a hard time being patient.
And then transfer it over to a letter
We'll
grade.
set these down.
And then when the parents come back, they
Now-
turned out great.
Here's the question on the plating: are we going off of first appearances or plating
The
appearances?
first appearance
The
is
first appearance.
absolutely the first appearance.
Okay.
Good question there.
It's a real good question because I knew the minute she started cutting into it that was going to be a question.
No, for real. Okay, so they both have Now, I don't know if
Thank
you
you.
guys are whipped cream people or not, but like I
Oh,
said, there was one recipe,
Unless
and
it's
I'm not going to
sugar-free.
tell you which one. There was one recipe that called for whipped cream, one that did not, but if you like whipped cream, there is whipped cream available.
I'm gonna have to say yes on that. What?
If the recipe
Okay, you
calls
just have
for
them.
it,
make sure
That's
this is
true,
the
but I'm
Reeves
not
one
gonna-
is on your left. The chunks is on your
Oh,
right.
sorry.
Just have to be official.
Yep. What?
Official.
And in that water.
Oh.
I'm going to get rid of this.
Cleanse your
'Cause I'm gonna be consistent, whether it called for it or not.
Yeah, that's what I figure. We'll put it on both. If you like whipped cream, some people don't.
should
Well,
I'm not gonna do it.
You're not doing it?
I'm not gonna do it. I
I'm gonna
mean,
do
I
it.
know what whipped cream tastes like, so
That's true.
Yeah, but also.
my dad's a
It's flavor.
baker, guys.
Uh-oh.
This is something we have.
Oh, see, we
Yeah.
called the right
What's that?
people. His dad's a baker.
My dad
Nice.
is a baker.
Well, we couldn't have
Rod
called,
just
they
likes
couldn't
food.
have called two worse
Oh,
people,
food.
the home ec teacher and the son of the
Right.
baker. Theoretically, they don't know whose is whose, but
Quit
considering
saying theoretically. They don't know. Maybe my recipe stuck to the pan. Maybe your recipe stuck to the pan. You don't know.
You gotta remember.
Gosh,
Everywhere.
that's gonna be awesome.
So,
This could have been
that's true.
at a Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh.
well, I told her
been
that after it
60
got
something years
cooking, what it did as soon as you walked through the house and you could smell it, it reminded me a lot of the times that I'd come over here to my grandma's house. You know, just because she'd either be baking something, she always made peanut butter cookies, and she always made ham, and she always makes stuff like that. And it's just the natural stuff that goes along with it. So, even though the recipes actually were really quite close for the most part, other than mine.
No, don't say it, because
Well,
Donna,
I was going to say
Donna
one
might-
of them had one thing and hers
Yeah.
didn't.
Donna might know.
Maybe some
because
cinnamon.
Brown sugar.
Not a drop of cinnamon.
Something.
Not a drop of cinnamon in either of them. Which I kind of find it interesting
I
considering
know,
you
I
had
do too.
pineapple.
Wait, one was. Oh, I got you. Five's the best, one's the worst.
This is a problem with taste testing.
They had had a late lunch, so they weren't that hungry.
Because you're like, okay, this is
You
there,
know
and this
that?
is, and you're like, when you're putting a score to it.
The one thing I'm noticing when you cut into it is the one is more of a sponge and the other one's more of a crumble, isn't it? I mean,
Oh,
that
for
looks
sure.
like the way that it's supposed to be. As
Well,
flat
and
as
I
this
don't-
one
I
is
mean, I don't
versus the
know.
sponge on that.
Because again, I just ate my mom's stuff. I didn't remember.
And I don't remember my mom making this, and I'm sure she did. My dad was kind of a big fan of
My
pineapple.
mom's was apricot upside down cake.
Ooh.
Apricots.
Because they had to figure out anything to do,
To do with their
make
Correct.
those
stuff.
So
the
that-
apricots like
yeah, that tree that was out
come
back
out.
that
When they come out, they're out. The whole tree ripens at the same time, and then you're just like, okay, jam, bottle.
Yeah.
I mean, and juice them. Anything you can come up with.
Now we can get serious.
There you
now
go.
that you've done your scoring.
Oh, I've done
That's-
my due diligence. Now it's time to, football game.
Hey, the couch is free.
Oh,
Do you like LSU?
okay.
I just like good football.
Because
That
one
was
of them
bad.
has walnuts and one has
according to
pecans. Do you
ESPN,
like
they're what,
different
number
nuts?
Oh.
4?
I didn't even notice that they were different.
Oh, that's cool.
Georgia.
Because I didn't know.
That's
I mean,
just
that might
bad.
throw
I
you.
told him,
Is this walnuts then?
Grapefruit is South Carolina. But I
Yeah.
think
No,
when it
that
comes
was
to
the
the playoffs, I think down the
That's
road,
the
I think
walnuts.
Georgia's
This is a
gonna be
walnut?
better team to beat in the playoffs.
Really?
Yeah.
Looks just like a
Looks
pecan.
like
They're-
walnut.
Well, if they get their defense to
And
How
they
much I ate walnuts?
specifically asked for
Oh, they-
halves.
Everything
So I
struggled
spent
today for
extra
them. I
money
don't.
on halves.
I bet you the
So it
coach will
looked
go back
right?
and say,
So it
"Look,
looked
we had
pretty,
too
but
easy."
I would just, if I was
a
making
week
it for
or something,
family,
just
I
kinda
would
overlooked
spend the
it.
extra money for
Right.
that.
when that happens.
In fact, the
Do
whip.
you want to know the? Because we can't just sit here and eat. They want to know the results.
Oh no, we're good. I can edit out the.
Oh yeah, you
We
can.
net out 15 minutes of eating. Sure, we don't.
Oh, good then. All right.
Now, if you like that better,
Right.
you can cut yourself some more. Because
Well,
I had a really crappy cut job.
no. It's honestly they're both really good.
They're pretty close, aren't they?
They are, other than the texture.
Yeah.
Well,
Texture
that's
is
what
like
I'm
you
saying.
said. Yeah.
I'm looking at that. You look at that. That's a sponge. That's more of a sponge, and this is a real, just a crumble.
See, this would be good with milk.
It would. Be good
Or
with
ice
just a
cream.
little, just like some real cream over the top of it.
So what about
Is it
after doing both of these? If you blended both of them together, your favorites from both?
Like, what did you like about the different things?
I liked the pecans better. Like I thought that the pecans were better, and then the brown sugar, like whatever glaze that you put on
which one?
on this one.
I
So,
can't remember how much.
I
It might
think-
have more in it.
Are we just
Because
talking?
it was exactly the
openly?
same thing. It was brown sugar and butter. That was it on both of them. And we used the exact same type of brown sugar. I think mine had more on it.
It did.
That one looked phenomenal.
I
Like
think
that one,
Yeah.
like could win prizes.
Oh, you're adorable.
Thank you.
Overall appearance, for sure.
But I liked this one.
Why?
I like. It might be the pecans. I like the texture.
This is the walnuts.
Oh, that's the walnuts. I like
That's
the
the
walnuts.
one that I like. Sorry, the walnuts.
You like
I
the
like the
walnuts.
I like the walnuts. Yeah.
Got it.
I like the texture. Maybe the fact that it had more brown sugar because I love brown sugar.
So do I.
So like, if I was buying one at the store, just looking at it, I would get that one.
But the flavor
And
of
then
this
if
one's better.
I would be really sad because I like the flavor of that one. I like the crumble
Yeah.
part of the cake
Yeah.
too,
Interesting.
with the brown sugar.
Rod?
I'm just loving it all.
Rod's not, he doesn't care.
No,
It's just like
so
this.
I went 4s on that and 3s on this across the board because I like more dense stuff
Right.
Oh,
and
yeah.
because I do and so as soon as you cut into that I was like, oh my gosh. I didn't say anything, but I was
Which
like,
is funny because there's
and when
a,
that was falling apart, I was like, it's really good with some milk.
there's a cake
You
that I
know?
make that's super dense that Bert loves, and I don't like it because it's too dense for me.
I wanted to go lick that pan when I saw that sitting there. No, I'm good now.
There you go.
Okay, I'll pick at it.
But yeah, I keep
Yeah,
doing
it's
this.
It's probably too
I keep
hard
doing
now.
it like-
at this point.
I probably should have put taste on both of them. Like, the walnuts do hit a little better.
Which
So
is
you like-
surprising.
You like
Yeah.
the walnut better than
Which
Yeah,
is
It
surprising.
because I'm not a huge walnut
But it might
guy,
be because there's more
but
brown sugar.
maybe
Yeah,
I
so
don't
the
know. It just hits a
combination of the
little.
two.
It
Yeah.
hits a little better.
Uh-huh.
And if,
But-
if this had been greased, it probably, as far as looks,
Yeah,
would
I
have
would say I
looked
think
better.
you-
It would have come out better.
Had I been paying attention, there's pages in the front of that book that talk about prep, and I'll bet one
Or
of
it
them
could have
says,
sat there too long.
well, maybe because it says only let it sit for a few minutes. We had to wait
Uh-huh.
for yours to finish cooking.
So it could have sat there
Wait, so
too
you're
long.
saying this one's yours?
Mhm.
I didn't know which
Oh
one
yeah,
was
so we want to let the cat out of the bag. This is
You
Nora's.
guys acted like we
This is
could
mine.
tell, and I'm like,
Well,
Well,
she's
because
the artist,
this
and
is
look how
the pretty
beautiful
one.
that is.
So
And
he
this
was
is
saying
something that
that.
looks like a guy did, one of
So
six.
are you
Okay.
saying Better Homes and Gardens did it better?
for me.
Better Homes and Gardens did it better?
For
Well,
me,
let's look at the score,
me.
shall we?
this.
See,
Okay,
look
so-
at there. It's a good thing there were three
Rod,
judges.
Rod, or this card here gave you 12 and gave me 9.
And a pen that doesn't work.
And a pen that doesn't work. So we got 12 and 9, and this one we got 11, and this one we got 13. Whoops. And on that one,
Oh, he's double checking.
I'm making sure because I had to redo it a little bit.
Because the deeper
was
you got into it,
13.
it changed.
Yeah,
right?
no,
Yeah.
like the more you keep.
11.
Yeah, it changes.
See, for him, he would
I'm
like a pound cake
I
more
do like
than
Oh,
I
I
do.
do like
No.
pound cake. I love pound cake, and that right there, it's more like
3.
I feel a lot more traditional
Yep,
23.
than this one.
that was the 3 years difference. This is the old
36.
3 years older
Oh.
recipe.
Damn it.
It's the funniest thing
Yeah,
because if you
36
look
for.
at them,
I would like this part
Oh, I
right
know.
there.
I've been eyeing
We're like
that,
really,
but-
yeah, we're like,
Crunchy stuff.
yeah, like I hit a little bit of that on
do you
the
want the
downs.
takeout box?
No,
we
like,
really do have
but
takeout
that's
box.
we're like that. Like when we cook squash, we like it
See, and
almost
that's
burnt.
how I am too.
When we and it's like I like because
Yeah.
that's like ooh.
This one
Yeah.
too, if you mixed it and did rings instead of the chunks, then you'd have that aesthetic appeal.
Uh-huh.
And then
I
you
like
could.
the chunks though.
Do you?
When it breaks down, you don't have to cut the pineapple,
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
right? Like while you're eating it, it's a better eating experience.
Good point.
Because then you're not making a point of cutting a piece to eat with the cake.
Mhm.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
There you go.
we're gonna
You guys
do
are gonna have to merge these recipes and then
Yeah.
send it to me.
But really, they're both really really good.
When I told him what we were trying, he's like, "Oh, okay."
See, I've never been a huge upside down cake fan, so.
I mean, I know you like the bits, but I think if you're going to the store to buy an upside down cake, pineapple,
Well, was this one?
those rings are going to sell you every time.
Because this one, to go back through them,
It's a
'cause
tie
they
ball
were-
game.
They were tied at 11, and I was like, you can't have a tie if you like one better. So I have to
33,
adjust
32.
this.
Right?
Isn't that 33? If it was
33,
36 to, it's tied ball game.
Yep.
Oh, well,
They
then maybe you need to take some home for autumn.
Glad you said something because I'm going to sleep a lot better.
I was like, this one was like, obviously, if appearance would have
I
came
got the
up,
wrong
you would.
glasses on. This
There
is the thing. I've got the wrong glasses
Well,
on.
So you just tried to sabotage yourself, babe?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I got to make you feel better about
He
You
it.
know
loves
what?
you.
I'm going to give you that crunchy bit.
I'm not going to tell you no now, Marta. You've gotten this far.
If
So
you
is this
tell
gonna
me
be?
now-
Is this gonna be like a
But
weekly
can you guys
taste
come get
test?
some Alfredo?
Yeah, you need to come get some.
Anyway, well, let's wrap this up. All right,
Oh, yeah.
thank you all for coming. I'm glad that we were able to do this, and it was actually a lot of fun. So
McKay
Yes, we
acted
will
he's
be
gonna
doing
come
this
back,
more often.
so-
I think
I'm
next
ready.
time we'll do brownies. There's actually a couple of brownie recipes in those books that sound and look really good, and I'm kind of looking forward to it because they're kind of the old school ones. We actually have to melt the chocolate
Oh,
and
okay.
everything and do it that way. So,
Oh, that whole book is old school, 1950.
well, I know, but you know that. Anyway, so do you want to do the extra, the exit?
No, you can. I did the intro.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for joining us for another episode of Fire, Flower, and Fur. We'll see you next time.
This
Whoa.
you
Good
get to
save.
clean up. I'm out.
Funny.